it's hard to dress it up. I mean, listen, they're top in the group. They beat Serbia in the first game, and people say they're growing into a tournament, but there's just nothing there. I mean, they're the slight positives you can take. They're at the top of the group, and you expect more from this group of players. But the two performances have just been a lot below what you would expect. Too many players underperforming. Too many players that aren't been involved in the game in the formation the manager's playing. The Trent Alexander-Arnold experiment, which is what it is, it's an experiment, hasn't worked. He took him off after 52 minutes last night, which is him admitting that, look, that's not worked, we're going to have to change it. He's got midfielders sat on the bench. He turns around last night and looks at his bench, and you think, where am I going to change it? I think to start with now, if you unpack the whole situation, we could sit here for so long. In my opinion, he got the squad wrong to start with. Adam Wharton's a good player. He's not ready. He's not going to get game time. He's not given Cole Palmer game time. I think he should be playing. He should give him game time. I think you look at Eze. I think this is probably a tournament too big and too early for him. I tell you, last night, he'd looked round at his bench. If you'd have had James Maddison and Jack Grealish on that bench, you get players that come on who have played in big games, who know how to change a game, who can keep the ball, who will have an impact on the game. I think you got it wrong to start with by leaving those two at home. And I think playing Trent in there just hasn't worked. Phil Foden on the left wing has been nullified. The whole situation, the shape, Harry Kane's not been at his best. There's too many players that have underperformed, and it looks like on the big stage at the moment, they're just not getting it right. But the top of the group, if we're saying this in a week's time and they're still in the tournament and winning games, then do you take it? I mean, you can't win every game 5-0 with champagne football, but there's just too many glaring things that are jumping out at the moment. Where you're watching the game, you watched the game last night, and it's just a bad watch, isn't it? I mean, no disrespect, but they've not played anybody. They've played Serbia and Denmark, two teams who you'd have expected them to put away comfortably, and they haven't done. USA, last tournament, drew 0-0, second round. Scotland, previous Euros, drew 0-0, second round. One each, was it? One each draw with Scotland. There's some very, very slight positives to take, but I'm just finding it very, very hard to stay positive with a team that are performing the way that they are.
Neil Mellor, I think your opinion is, and it was, hey, relax, everyone. 4 points, top of the group.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Paul's saying in terms of I haven't enjoyed watching England. You know, we've seen this group of players perform domestically, and they're absolutely outstanding, but they can't replicate that on an international scene. What I would say, the worry is when the manager, the coach says, I'm experimenting, that's a worry for me. Do you not know your best team? Do you know what I mean? You've had enough time to work on this group of players, what you want going into the tournament, and you don't know your best team. That's a worry for the coach to be saying that. And what I would say is the positive is we're top of the group. We haven't played well at all. So you're thinking there has to be more to come. There has to be if we are to progress and do well. I think the expectation is always unfair on England. You know, I refer back to previous tournaments. Euro 2000, we never got out of the group. Euro 2008, we didn't even get in the Euros. Think about some of the players we had back then in 2008. We didn't even qualify for the Euros. World Cup 2014, bottom of the group. So there's been some bad times, painful times watching England in the past. So as bad as it is watching at the moment, we're top of the group. We can all look forward to the knockouts and think it has to get better. And hopefully it will, because we have some really talented players. But for me, I think the overreaction is quite alarming, how quick everyone is. Oh, get rid of Southgate, do this, do that. Well, we're top of the group and we can look forward to the Euros. But it has to get better. It really does, because I've not enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, what do they do, Paul? I mean, they look like they look tired. And you can imagine after every Premier League season, a lot of players are very tired. I think,
but all these players and throughout the Euros have played in the Premier League or the La Liga or Serie A. Everyone's had long seasons. Yeah, you can say that it's tiredness of the fatigue at the end of a long season. But you're telling me all these players that have played for Juve, Inter Milan, AC Milan, etc., wherever they've played, the top 5 leagues across Europe. Maybe the French league is a little bit less impact in the French league, but the other 2-3 leagues in Europe, there's players that have played exactly the same amount of football. So it's hard to use that excuse. And just one thing that Gareth Southgate said after the game, we haven't found a replacement for Calvin Phillips. I mean, yeah, I understand that that's the situation he wants to play with Rice and Calvin Phillips as a holding midfielders. But for him to get that deep into a Euros tournament, 2 games in now with all the prep done, for him to turn around and say that, it was that did make me scratch my head, in all honesty. I think the team's unbalanced. I think when Luke Shaw comes back in, it'll give the team a little bit more balance. The out-and-out wingers, Saka on the right, yes. Foden on the left, it's not work. There's no balance to the team. You're not getting the best out of players. The team's got to have, for want of a better phrase, there's got to be the water carriers and the ball players. And we're trying to get all this attacking talent that you're trying to get on the pitch. I get it, but it's not working. Trent's not working in that role. Phil Foden's not working on the left wing. You're maybe going to have to sacrifice certain players for the balance of the team and the quality of the team. You need your water carriers as well as your ball players.
Is there a point now? I know you mentioned Wharton might be a bit too soon, but they're looking for the midfielder alongside Rice. You either put Bellingham there as a 6, as a double pivot, or you put Wharton in, or
Conor Gallagher.
Conor Gallagher's come on and I think he's shown what he can do, and then you put Foden at 10. Or you've got Bellingham.
I'd be tempted
it's
to
what
play.
you do.
Jude Bellingham's got a great engine. He's got a fantastic energy up and down. He's a box-to-box midfielder. You're not going to lose anything from Jude Bellingham by dropping him slightly deeper or playing him in a 3. I mean, why do we have to have the holding? Why not just play the 3? Play a simple 4-3-3, which, put Declan Rice in the middle, Bellingham one side of it, Foden the other side of it, play Saka off Kane. However you do it, just find a way, because whatever they're doing is not working.
And it's about attitude now, isn't it, Neil? As you mentioned, and you both have experience of playing in squads. It's when things are going well, things are not going well. But where do you say that the squad will be now, looking around, going, why is this not working? I'm going to give you a stat. I'm going to stat you now. This is there is a stat which measures pressing, and that one of the best pressers in the Premier League last season were
Man City, Phil Foden.
Neil, as a team pressing. And the stat is passes per defensive action. So that's the passes that any team has before you go in and break them up.
Don't know. Liverpool must have been
Tottenham Hotspur.
Tottenham.
8 passes the opposition had with Ange Ball before they broke them up.
But we say
who are the worst team? Who are the worst pressers in the Premier League?
Arsenal.
United.
I mean, worst, completely the worst.
Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest. 17.
But then you look at England, they're almost playing a low block, which is, that's all these players, they're used to this high pressing. That's what managers want in the Premier League. That's the way they play. Yeah, I watched England last night and I'm seeing him in a low block. I'm seeing him hold on to a 1-1 draw.
28 passes before anyone engaged. It's since that stat has ever been brought in, it's one of the worst performances by any side.
That sums up the performance, that stat.
I don't think we have enough players lengthening the game, enough pace going forward. I think it's all played in front of the opposition and it's quite easy to defend. Why haven't we got more pace lengthening the game? Harry Kane, does he want to run in behind? I don't think he does anymore. Foden doesn't want to run in behind. Saka maybe is the only one. So for me, I'd like to see a little bit more pace, a little bit more running in behind. I'd like to see 3 at the back, and go really attacking with wingers rather than wing backs. Especially in the group games. But I feel as though the approach is cautious and we don't see enough chances created. It's all very pedestrian and people will say they look tired, but the performances have been flat. But we know there's more to come from it. I'd like to see Foden and Bellingham as 2 10s. Maybe that's too attacking for Gareth Southgate. I don't know. But personally, Foden in the middle is a player. Out wide is wasted. So whether we find the solutions, I don't know. But we are still top of the group. Something has to change. It really does.
3-4-3. Trent right wing back. Trippier left wing back. It's all working out.
It's too cautious, though, isn't it? It's too overindulgent. You saw the stuff on social media last night, didn't you, about Gareth Southgate? The stuff like he'd put a cycle helmet on if he's on his exercise bike, and if he was a meal deal, he'd be a plain ham sandwich, a packet of plain crisps, and a water.
Sometimes that is what gets you to
but
the finals of championships. They're top of their group.
They've got to the semi-finals, final, quarter-finals. Let's have this discussion at the end of the tournament if England continue to play this way and don't progress.
And which other nations are having exactly the same conversation right now?
What was the team who got rid of their manager during the tournament? Was it Ivory Coast? I'm not saying that. I'm saying
it was.
Are you starting a Southgate out campaign?
I'm not saying that. That's all.
They won it. They won it.
And they won it. There you go. I saw that.
Where's Big Sam when you need him?
You started off saying relax, and then suddenly it's like, we need to bring in Eddie Howe.
No, let's get Big Sam off the beach.
I've already got Eddie Howe sacked at Newcastle. It doesn't matter. He's free of a job. Euro 2024 continues, and England do too, just about. We'll see how they get on.